This past year was the 100th anniversary of the Colorado River Compact that divided up the river among the 7 states.
Based on some flow volumes that I think now everyone agrees were wishful thinking.
Things have changed. There's suddenly 40 million people, and there's a lot less water because of drought and climate change.
So we use more water than the river can supply.
Somewhere around 85 to 90-something% of the winter veggies for the whole country come out of this part of the world right now, right out of here.
So who's going to take the cuts?
But the Colorado River is so connected, you can't just focus on one state or one part of the river.
Our job is to find the people on the ground who have the most to lose, and in this case we felt it was the farmers because they do account for most of the water.
We drove a lot. We drove up through Arizona, Utah, into Wyoming.
We flew over re-emerging rapids above Lake Powell.
When we flew over Lake Powell and we saw how big the mud flat was, what we thought was low in 2007 wasn't.
And at the same time, we were working with Deb Kroll, taking a look at tribal water rights.
To tribes, water is way more than a commodity. Water is life.
When they divided up the river, none of the tribes were invited to that.
Tribes 100 years ago didn't have the same level of resources they have today to say, hey, what about us? We have the most senior water rights of anybody. If you want to manage this regional wide, you're going to have us as part of your discussions.
Over 150 years ago, we barely had any water at all. Probably one of the most historic thefts of water in the history of the United States.
Wherever we went, we found that people wanted to point the finger somewhere else. We'll hear from readers who think the problem is all out there on the farms, just fix that. Ranchers up there feel like the problem is the swimming pools.
Our goal was to show how all of these things fit together and why a solution would mean everybody playing some role. If you do that well, you have gained a greater understanding of what they're going through and of the big issue.
One of our Arizona senators formed a water advisory board to actually talk about these issues.
Our governor proposed spending $1 billion over the next 3 years to try to find solutions. We just saw a lot of movement like we'd never seen before. We play a role in bringing that story out.
What the reporting conveys is that we're all going to sink or swim with this. You know, some of us in our backyard swimming pools and some of us in our flood irrigation canals, but if everyone doesn't pitch in, then the system crashes.